Hi, welcome back to Danny Harris Arts in part 4 of this largemouth bass wood carving project. In this segment, I'm going to be painting, and I'm going to do something a little bit different in that I'm not going to be using an airbrush at all in this. So I'm going to do it all by hand, and I'm doing that so that I can show those of you that may not have an airbrush how to do just dry brush techniques and layering color to build up color and depth. So I'll show you how to do that in this one. Appreciate you guys watching, and if you have any questions or comments about the process, you can leave them for me in the comment section below. And if you're new to the channel, I'd really appreciate it if you consider subscribing and hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. I want to apologize for part 3 that I just finished up of not getting the fins and the eyes being mounted on camera. I could have swore I pushed record on the GoPro, and apparently I didn't, and so I missed it all. But if you want to see that, you can check out some other videos where I mount the fins and the eyes, because I use the same techniques. And if you want to see how I made these eyes, you can go to, I have a video on specifically how to make the eyes, so you can check that out also. So I'm going to turn the camera around here and get started. Almost did it again. I almost forgot to hit record button. All I used here was acrylic gesso, and you can get this at any hobby store, and there's multiple brands. I'm about out. I need to get some more. All right, so I'm gonna let this dry for a couple hours, and then I'm gonna pull out the regular colors and get going. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna start off with painting the white of the belly, and I'm gonna be using a pearlescent white. And then I'll start working my way up, just laying base colors down, and then I'll start adding layers of color using dry brush technique. So let me find the, I'll just do it right here. Like I say, this is, some of you know I use this plain Hobby Lobby acrylic deco art, and there's different brands. This one's Anita's. There's Folk Art. There's Apple Barrel, but they're all basically the same. It's more of a liquid type acrylic, and this is actually a Createx color. I had some pearl eyes in this white, in this Folk Art, but I guess I'm out. So, but I've got this pearlized Createx. This is an airbrush color, but I'm going to apply it with a paintbrush. And I'm just going to start off by going here on the belly. And you probably can't tell that that is pearlized, but it is. I'm just going to go over and do all this belly part here with this pearlized. Come all the way up the side here a little bit. A lot of this is going to be covered with green or yellows. And I'll probably do 2 coats of this, just because it's a fairly thin paint. Okay, so I'm gonna let that coat dry, and then I'm gonna put another coat on, and then I'll come back and start adding color on the top here. Some color washes. I know you probably can't see that on camera that's got the pearlescent look to it, but it does in person anyway. Alright, you back. Okay, so now this is dry, and I'm going to start adding some yellowish green here down to the body, and I'm going to do that just by dry brushing. And let's see what brush I'm going to use here. I think I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to make that color by using black, yellow ochre, and I'll use a little bit of this cadmium yellow. So until I get the color I want. So black's almost dried up there, but so I'm going to put this together. And what this cadmium yellow and black do is it makes a green. It makes a wonderful green, beautiful green. So that's what I'm going to get up here. We can see it. So I'm going to make a couple piles here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this cadmium yellow here. And this will be my side color. And that's basically the color that might need a little bit more yellow in that. And then, where's my... I'm going to use this glazing medium to add to it to give it a little bit of transparency. I just put all that in there. And I'm going to dry this brush off. Now that I got my color mixed up here, and I'm just going to start bringing this in on the side here, just real thin. I don't know if you can see that or not. Just going real thin. I ain't worried about that there because it's going to be getting darker up there anyway. And I'll do this a couple times till I get the color that I want. I just want to start off thin. Y'all can't probably see what I'm doing here. I'm wiping. I dip the paint in, and then I kind of brush it on my shirt to get all the excess off. I just want the slightest little bit of paint on there. Alright, so I'm going to go a little darker up here on the top. Maybe a little darker than that even. And I want that, you can tell it's kind of mottled a little bit, and I want that. That's what I'm looking for. if I get too, like I didn't want that down there that far, I'll take a softer brush here. There's one right here. Just dampen it just a little bit. Smooth it out some. Can you see it? See it starting to shape? I don't want these spots too black right now. I just want them in the background. And I'm just going to go down through here and touch a few spots because I don't want it to be completely dark. I want to keep that mottled. Keep in mind, I still have to come back and do scale tipping after all this. So, and that'll make a whole new dynamic look. Okay, so you may have noticed the eyes are missing here. After it's setting up overnight and looking at it a little bit, I realized the eyes were too small, and I know where I screwed up. When I measured the eyes on the pattern that I drew for this size, the irises came out to be 10 millimeters, and I ended up cutting the blank for 10 millimeters when I should have cut it for 14 millimeters. So, or the whole eyeball. So I screwed up and it made the eyes too small, and I didn't really realize it until I got them set in place and looked at it overnight. And the eyes looked too beady. So I drilled them out here. You can see that I drilled them out and painted. I had some blanks already cut out that were the appropriate size I needed. So I've got those painted, and I've got the epoxy on them, and they're curing on the rotisserie right now as we speak. So I'll put those on back here shortly. You'll see later in the video that they're in. Right now I've mixed up an olive green that I'm going to layer on here, and just to give it a little bit more depth. So let me get started on that. And the green that I mixed here was a combination of avocado green, and then I used this golden yellow and some yellow ochre, and just mixed it. And then I used some of the glazing medium in it to thin it down and make it more opaque. Make it more transparent. So now I'm gonna dry brush it all over the body again. Okay, so now I've mixed up a little bit darker. The same green I was using, I just added some black to it and a little more of the glazing medium. And I'm just going to go through here and lightly put some streaks on here and then wipe them off. I just want some of that dark to get down into the scale recesses. Alright, so I got the eyes back in, and I had some that were a little bit bigger, so I got them back in. It looks a lot better now. So, alright, so now I'm going over this green. I've got the base colors in, and I'm going over this green now with a grayed down version of the same green I used, and I grayed it down with just using some black and white. So, and this is going to be I got it pretty thin. Alright, so now I'm going over here, just kind of adding in another little layer of just a tiny bit of a lighter wash. Not really scale tipping, but just almost indication of scales. Alright, now I'm going over it with some this plain white here. I mean a super, matter of fact, I need to add a little bit of this gel medium here to make it more transparent. I'm going over with just a super thin layer of white. Show you here in just a second. Let me get this dried off. It needs to be a super dry brush. What have I got here that's super dry? It'll work, I think. I wish it was stiffer. I mean really white. We're not really white, we're just really dry. Not too much. I'm gonna go down into the belly some over this pearl, but I'll go back over that pearl, that pearl essence that was down there on that pearl white belly. When I get ready to do the highlights on it, or the iridescent colors. This brush has very, very little paint on it. I mean, it's just barely leaving just the slightest bit of color on it. Alright, so I got the black all in here. Or I'm sorry, the white. And I'm going to start coming back over here and bringing in some of these details. Alright, so I've got all the layers of color on now. I think I've done with basically the base layers. So now I'll start scale tipping everything, and that's going to kind of help make everything pop. And I still need to finish up the fins, but scale tipping is going to take a little bit. And there's some details I'll need to do around the mouth. Right around the eyes, and getting that color right. Behind the fins here, where there's some fleshy pinkish area shows where the muscle folds up. But it's coming along. And the vent down here. Gotta put a place for him to poop. So what I've done is I've gone in and used that same, or just made that olive green darker and painted the fins on it. And now I'm kind of going in between the fins now, dampening the brush just a little bit and wiping off some of it so that it's leaving a little bit of a lighter fin color in there. Might even take a little bit of that light paint, just give it a little That'll kind of give that the illusion of transparency. It sounded like Bob Ross, didn't it? The illusion of mist. All right, I'm putting another layer. Grade it down just a little bit. I think it was a little too green, but I'm putting another layer of this lighter green in here. So I'll do the same thing on this side here. Just going to go in and kind of tone this green down a little bit. These pectoral fins are hard to get the right color because they're so transparent on a real fish. It's hard to get the right color on a solid, when it's solid like this. Solid wood, so it's you have to kind of fake it. So I'm doing they're kind of orange. They got kind of an amber, almost amber orange color. So what I've done was I mixed a little bit of my, where'd it go? I mixed a little bit of this golden yellow with some burnt sienna, and it kind of gives me this this burnt orange color. So that's what I'm going on here. Mix it a little bit more. So I'll let them dry, and then I'll dry brush a darker sienna color on there to highlight the fin rays. So while that's drying, I'm going to work on these pectoral fins a little bit, and I'm going to use the same color down here. On there. Put some on earlier when I was doing the base coats, but I want this to be a smoother finish than what's on here. So just putting a real thin wash on it, coming all the way down the end, because I'm going to come back the other way with white. And I just want this kind of glazed right over the top of the rays. I don't know if that can be seen on camera now, but I'm going to try. This probably looks white on camera, but it's not. It's got, just like I say, it's got just a tiny bit of pale yellow in it. Alright, so what I got to do now, I think those dry enough that I can put, I got to mix up the color to darken these. I haven't decided if I want to paint each individual one on or just dry brush it on. And I think I want to just dry brush it on. So I'm going to get a wider brush here. And it's going to start putting real super light thin washes over the top of this. I don't want to go down into that orange that I made. I just want to come over the top of it. Might need to go a little bit darker. Keep getting out of the camera, I'm sorry. Okay, so I got these fins, pectoral fins, the background color I want, and then I've got some, it's kind of it's a darker version of this that I darkened down with just a little bit of black and burnt sienna. And I'm just going to dry brush over the top of these fin rays here, just to kind of darken them up a little bit so you can kind of see them or separate them from the background. All right, I think I am about ready to start scale tipping. And I still got to, and I probably won't show this on camera, but I'm going to have him eating a little fish, a little brim. So I've got half of a bluegill pattern here. So you'll have a little bit of a little tiny bluegill in his mouth. So I still got to get the wood to do that with. Alright, so I think the fins are done. And like I say, I'm going to start I think I'm going to go ahead and start scale tipping. Alright, that's going to be it for part 4 of this largemouth bass wood carving project. I was really hoping to get the whole segment done, painting segment done in this one video, but there was just too much to do and the video ran too long, so I was forced to cut it in half. So part 5 will be coming up, where I'll be doing the scale tipping and other detail work to finish it up. But if you have any questions about what I've done in this segment, feel free to leave them for me in the comment section below, and I'll answer them just as quick as I can. But I appreciate you guys watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you on part 5.